Okay. Well, welcome everyone. We got the recording started. My name's Chris Coward, and I am one of the co-creators of the HabitChange Coach Training Program with my partner here, Jeff Kaplan. And we've been doing these monthly webinars since I think maybe February or so. This might be our seventh-ish. And they're always free, and we always record them so people can listen later. And this one is going to feature a lot of Jeff. We tend to alternate on the barrier to change of a values conflict. So he'll do, like for our time today, he'll do some explanation, context setting, all engaging and interactive, of course, and then be looking for a coach volunteer as well to do just a demonstration of the material. And we'll, get your guys' questions and things like that as well. And then we'll share just a little bit about we're in the process of filling our coach training program, the first course called Habit Change Coach Fundamentals. And I realize that the people on the call are all trained, but you may know people that this would be absolutely perfect for. So, and this certainly is a piece of it, what we're doing today. So I'm going to turn it over to Jeff.
Thank you, Chris. Happy Friday, everybody.
Yeah, he's on East Coast, by the way. So it's like
he's
getting ready for happy hour.
My sisters just drove up from Maryland for a visit. So they're downstairs with a 6-pack of pumpkin beer, which they know the way to my heart around this time of year, even though it's a little early for pumpkin beer. But I don't mean in time, I mean in the year.
Right.
So let me start off by telling you a little story. The year was 2004, and I was on my 5th call with my coach, who I hired. And we were talking about, she was encouraging me to take Sundays off. Right? I've been working for myself for about 5 years and, 7 days a week. And I was really pushing back. There's a lot of resistance. In fact, I was even getting kind of annoyed at her a little bit. Like I felt like, well, is this your issue or mine? Even though I was the one that brought up, I had zero balance in my life. And, God bless her, she got through to me, and I made a commitment to take Sundays off. That was a transformative change for me. It was a change, one, because it just changed how, I know now psychologically every week, Sundays are off, even if I have to work until 1 o'clock in the morning on, Saturday, which these days I've figured that out too. I generally don't have to do that. But I put a stake in the ground. I said to the universe, I'm going to value balance, even though I'm never finished everything I have to do. What I realized is that I had 2 values that were in conflict. One was this value of achievement, of success, of building a really successful coaching, consulting, and training business. And then I had this other value, which was friends, family, me time. And the reality is, I might have told you that, family and friends are most important, but I wasn't showing that, right? And so it was clearly it was important, but less important to me than the success. And so that was really kind of one of the first times I really felt a shift around honoring one value over the other. 2 other quick things. One is I'm working with a client now in a large global retail outlet. And a lot of our conversations is around, they sell a lot of name brand products, and then they also have their own private label, right? And there's this push-pull around how much money do they pour into this team that they have of developing private label products, which are quite frankly competing with the name brand products, right? So it's a little bit like they're competing with themselves. right? And my guy is in charge of the private label, but he's not getting the folks that are, selling kind of the stuff that where companies put millions of dollars in marketing. He's bumping up against that. And really what's happening in this organization is that it's a values conflict, right? Now, if they don't make a change in 5 years, they're going to be in trouble because the product line that my guy is in charge of, like eventually these name brands are not going to need, right, this outlet to sell their stuff. They're just going to sell it directly to consumer. So, but it's where do we put the money, because we're getting money here and now, but in 5 years we may not be. And I give you these two examples just to talk about how we are in conflict a lot and we don't necessarily see it as a values conflict, but actually it really is. And then the last thing I want to say is a silly example. You probably all have heard of it. If you work with leaders and you ask what's your top value, and you often hear family and family actually, and then you say, oh really? So what's your work schedule like? Oh my God, I'm working like morning to night, and I'm at work till 7, 8 o'clock at night, sometimes 9. Oh really? And when you get home, like you shut off? Oh no, we're texting back and forth. I mean, I'm going back and forth with emails and things like that. And and so I'm like, huh, that's interesting, right? And yet you value, family more. Now, they will argue that the work demands it, and it's really convincing, right? Because there's a lot of pressure right now, globalization, matrix organizations, the demands of work, but it's BS. And it takes somebody with courage to figure this out. And here's a takeaway. When you yourself are stuck around a decision, or you're working with a client who seems to be stuck, one, recognize that decision stuckness is always, or almost always, and I only say almost because I haven't yet heard of an example where this is not true, but maybe there's one out there, a conflict in values. The decision, the choice, the two or more choices, I'm valuing one over the other. And where we often get stuck and where our clients get stuck is trying to figure out, about which one is more important. And they're stuck in a perception, right? Where it's like a dichotomy. It's, I can have this or I can have this. So one of the things that we teach our coaches in our training program, and one of the things I invite everybody here to think about, is when you're working with a client who seems to be stuck around a decision, just take them through this very simple process. First is help them figure out what are the values associated with each of that decision, right? And then the second thing is I'm just going to take right to the punchline. Ask this question: how can I honor both? Like, think about any decision that you had. If you can get to the core of what's most important about that decision, right, then the question to ask is, how can I honor both of these? And all of a sudden, the world opens up with possibilities. So hopefully in a little bit, when I do this demonstration, we'll get to see some of that in play. We'll see. Another thing I want to bring up is oftentimes when I ask my clients, what's most important to you? They'll say something like family, because they think it's the most important value. But I can test that. Here's how you can test the authenticity of what your client says, whether they know it or not. And most of the times they truly think that that's it. How do they spend their time? How do they spend their money? And where do they spend their energy? Time, money, and energy. That will point to what is actually most important to them. So the distinction that I often make to them is when I then check it out and I say, okay, well, how do you spend your time, money, and energy? So, because you told me that, whatever, you're working this much. I tell them, there's a difference between true values, meaning what you're spending your time, money, and energy on, and aspirational values, right? So you aspire to have family, for example, be a higher value that you're honoring. And once we lay that out there, it's an opportunity for us to help them achieve the aspirational values, much like my coach did with me with work-life balance. Does that make sense? Anybody? Before we dive in, I would just love to hear from you, like if you feel like, if when you think about decisions that you've had to make or clients of yours had to make, if you can identify where you see it maybe as a values conflict. And Chris, you can be part of this as well. Don't have to be there again.
It's pretty fresh for me. Joan probably saw this, but or maybe it didn't come out yet, but I wrote an article on this very thing, on values conflict. And I used an example myself. I have so many, but one common one is I have a high value of adventure, like experiencing new things, having fun, a little bit of risk and edge, and and a high value of personal health as well. And where I felt like they were at odds was restaurant dining with friends that are like foodies and adventurous, and thinking like, nope, can't do that, can't do that, can't do that, and feeling a little bit crushed around my sense of adventure that even shows up in eating, and recognized it, and eventually came to, well, really, like what outweighs this and how I can have both is that, this health adventure that I'm on, just like marry these things. It's an adventure. I love like cool little biohacks and trying new little devices out. And well, Joan, yeah, people know this about me. Like I'll be like, there's some cool, like, right now I'm in the 5-day fasting mimicking plan, that I got hooked on. And that like gives me juice, and it doesn't feel like I'm put upon, missing out, etc., when I'm actually having that adventure, even if other people are not sharing it with me or whatever. So that was my example.
It's like you can have the adventure and you can have this other, the health, right? You just have to, which one are you honoring at which time? Right.
And kind of even bringing them together in a sense.
Yeah.
Like, oh, what's going to happen? Oh man, what kind of health changes are going to, am I going to notice anything? Or that's exciting to me.
Yeah. Well, and the shift too is like when you realize like, oh wow, I can, you think about the patterns that we just fall into, like, right? We're not deliberate about them, but then you have a deliberate intent, right? And so then you go out with your friends and you realize I can actually have a really good time. Everybody else is drinking and eating crap or whatever, and I'm not, and I still have a really good time.
Yeah.
But it's like a whole new world of, possibilities, right?
Yeah. Welcome, Joanne, by the way.
Thank you. Sorry I was late. I was in another meeting.
No worries.
So
Jeff, Chris, maybe this is indicative that I need more training. Probably I'm revealing that I do, but when I try to have this similar types of conversations with my clients, I feel like it goes around in a circle. And the reason is this is foreign territory for most people. Most people do not examine what they value. They're really, really in that aspirational world, right? They want to describe what they value as what they want other people to value about them, not what they really value, okay? And it's very challenging to get them to own that with some integrity, right? So the answer will always be family. I own success, I own manifesting my intelligence, whatever. I work with a lot of high type A successful people, right? And so they get stuck in this thing of the public image of what they represent as values and trying to get them to connect to what's really important. And did have one breakthrough when one guy said, I really don't care about the family. That's what my wife does. I'll check them out when they're adults. I can't stand kids. And I was like, wow, that was pretty profound.
That's pretty honest.
That was pretty honest, right? But do you have tools, and maybe that's why you want us to take your training, that help people land in that authentic evaluation of their values? Because it's foreign territory for a lot of people.
So Joan, thank you so much for that question, because you just pointed to the one thing I wanted to share earlier that I forgot, which is what we call sort of values 360. So there's a list of values that, I found online like 10 years ago. Happy to share them with you. But it's like 360 values. I mean, it's insane. Like there's so many values that are very sort of close to the same thing. And one of the things I do, obviously, like giving someone saying, yeah, pick your top 10. It's like shopping for values. Like, oh, that one, I got to say that one, But what you do is what I ask them to do is I ask them to go through the list really quickly. Identify 20 that just, don't spend too much time. Take that 20, narrow it down to 10. Take that 10, narrow it down to 5, and then put it in order, right? By going, if I have to get rid of one, which one do I get rid of? And that's number 5. And then what next one would I get rid of? That's number 4. But then put that aside, take it to a spouse, take it to a couple of people that know you well, ask them to do the same list on you, right? What they see as your top values using the same list, and then compare lists and have a conversation. And it's just a fun way. It's like, like a 360 that I'm sure your leaders do in the work, but with values. That can really open up interesting dialogue between you and your client, as well as them and the other folks that have rated it.
Have you ever used the VIA, values and action scoring?
I've used the VIA signature strengths, but no, not the values and action score.
Well, that's what VIA is, the character.
Oh, okay. Oh, values and action score. Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But my one success story with that, it's been a while since I've had people do that, but one was many years ago. I was working with a leader who worked globally, and he really would get offended by some of his counterparts who tended to treat the women on the call sort of disrespectfully, like particularly on his team. And I mean, it would just bring up a lot of negative emotion, which is it's fine and great, but it was also kind of getting in his way of being able to manage the conversation. And so curiosity was one of his top 5 signature strengths. So I just simply asked the question, how can you use your value of curiosity? And it was like, it was like a real shift for him, right? And so then he just showed up really curious. And then, through that curiosity, he was able to sort of find a way through this situation. How about you? How have you used it? Yeah.
I used it more when I first graduated from FMCA because it was kind of fresh in my mind. I haven't used it much, again, because of what I just said, is that people will take the test and then they're like, now what? They don't, it just doesn't resonate with a lot of people. They don't kind of get this. I get it. I think everybody who becomes a coach or is in this business gets it, because we're here because we've examined our own values and our own purpose and our own mission. But for many of our clients, this is all really new stuff.
Yeah, and just kind of going back to what I said about time, energy, and money, instead you could ask questions around that, not use the word values, right? Because it's almost like a trigger, like God, money. But just say, tell me how you spend, outside of work, how do you spend your time?
Can I give you a real life case?
Yeah.
So I have a client who, thank God, is on break because I have to take a nap every time I talk to him. He's very high energy individual, very high competency. He runs multiple businesses. He comes from a family, I believe he's Armenian, deep in family culture, right? Like they all hang together, they drink together, they party together, huge extended families, mandatory family functions. And he's the sort of the patriarch of this family. And he has this incredible sense of responsibility that these multiple businesses he's running are the legacy for his children. So if you were to ask him about values, he would say, I care about my family. I'm building these businesses for my family. This is my legacy, their future. But he is in this constant time conflict where there's this familial responsibility to show up at dinners and cocktail parties and baseball games and all this stuff, and manage 6 different businesses, right? So if you were to ask him about his values, he would feel like he's walking in his value system, that everything he does is in alignment. The problem is he's killing himself. Right? And trying to make him understand that being a dead patriarch is not helping anybody is difficult, right? And so he embarked on this wellness journey, and I'm part of that team he's put together. And he's attacking his wellness journey with the same vigor that he would attack running a business. And I can't convince him that, and I don't try, I just try to sort of nudge him along, that maybe that's not the right approach, because he'll get frustrated. And he's like, well, I'm doing this for my wellness and I'm doing this for my wellness and I should be well by now, like he's so wound up. And so here's a man who I do think has a huge values conflict, right? But I don't have the skill or the words to help him sort of navigate that challenging place he's in.
Yeah, it's great. One of the questions I often ask folks like him is, first of all, I might make the statement something like, are you really spend 120% of your time and energy on everything, and get results? And he's going to say yes. He's kind of proud of that, right? Because that's the value, right? Then the next question is, where can you spend 80% of your time, right? And sometimes I'll even just, as a core homework assignment, to willing to take it on, do a time map and look at, put in buckets all these responsibilities and roles, and then basically take an objective look at where he can spend 80%, have somebody else spend, right, and start divvying it up, and be okay with it, and say, look, I realize it's like he's got an identity wrapped around this, right? It's not even just a value, it's an identity, right? And so you also need to get him excited about the possibilities of if he were able to shave off, even starting the question with, just out of curiosity, this is often how I started. If you could shave off 10% of your time, I'm not asking you to do this. I'm just saying, if you could shave off 10%, somebody handed you 10% more time, how would that, or took away 10%, gave it back to you, how would that be? And it's often like, oh my gosh, it would be wonderful. That's great. And you know what? You're extremely resourceful. You're incredibly talented. You're incredibly smart. I know darn well, if you want to, you can do that. Let's together figure out a bunch of little ways to do that. I just gave you, one. I had one leader do I asked him to do like, I said, just for 2 weeks, just track your time. I know I'm asking you to do more. It's a lot of work. What did he do? He sent me his calendar for, and asked me to do it, right? And I'm like, what, whatever. Like, at the leaders that you and I work with, like, I'm willing to take on a little bit of homework, right? And I did. To this day, I worked with him 2-3 years ago. We're still connected. I've heard him say to other people, one of the things that he valued most was that exercise. It shifted everything for him as he's trying to think about, post-career 2.0. He has taken off. He's taken off responsibilities because it was just in black and white. It was hard to do that.
Thank you. That was very helpful.
Excellent. Thanks. Appreciate it, man.
Hilda, were you going to say something earlier?
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Chris. I was just going to ditto what Joanne was saying and make a comment of what I've been listening to. And what comes to my mind is the difference between social values and personal values. And I think, Jeff, you give a good example with the society or the culture values hard work, right? That is what a successful person do, work until they're dead. Right. But my personal values is family, and they don't reflect. They don't,
Yeah.
it's a disconnection, and it's very interesting to put it that way. And I have a question because I feel like Joanne just mentioned earlier, even though I got the training and I have some experience, I still feel like there's ingredients that are missing on how to be more effective, and don't feel like you're working too harder than your client, and feel like you are really making strides, and especially for me, keep the relationship, because I can have 10 clients for 6 months, but then they don't continue, and I have to get new clients. So I don't know if you guys are going to talk about your training specifically, but that's why I show up today. Besides, I want to recommend the training to other people. I want to see if this is something that I can also benefit from.
Yeah, and so success looks like what for you?
In regards of my clients, you mean?
Yeah, and actually, Hoda, do you mind if we keep going and you'll be my demonstration client? Can we just keep talking? And I mean, I feel like we're in it anyway. Are you okay with that? Courage.
To see what I get to in myself.
Yeah.
It's like,
Oh, go for it,
Hilda.
Hilda. What an opportunity.
You always have choices. You always
Oh,
have-
I would love to. I just want to mention that I have to leave like 5 minutes before 2 o'clock.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. We'll definitely be done with it. Thank you for saying that.
Thank you.
Jeff,
Okay.
do you want to manage your own time or do you want me to?
I'll do it. Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, so we have 15 minutes.
Yeah, great.
So Hilda, like, what does success look like? So let's say next 15 minutes or give or take, there's a shift for you. What would it look like? What would be different?
In regards of the clients or the people that I want to work with, it will be to able to sustain a relationship enough to make a difference in their life. And that difference in their life will be defined by them. But I will be able to notice that changes that they are making in their lives.
I see. So I hear a couple of things. One is I hear you overlaying this idea that it takes more than 6 months to create a sustained change. And I also hear that you're saying that it's important for it to be observable to you in order for you to feel confident that there was real change. Is that fair?
Yes, and now that I'm hearing you talking, it might be that 6 months is a belief. It doesn't necessarily is a fact, or it's a sure thing. It's just my perception, my belief. And the reason why I think I want to be observable is for confirmation that I'm doing the right thing. It's like a self-assurance that what I'm providing is value.
And what's missing in that for me is your client, right? Right. And so what does that conversation look like, with your client to assess the value and what's working and what's not working?
What is missing in the conversation with my client of what's working or not working? Well, the first word that came to my mind is honesty.
I love the smile. So tell me, what's the smile behind the word honesty?
Because I feel like some of the clients I have worked with, they're really excited and they say, oh yeah, I love working with you, it's great, blah, 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 and all these things. And then I don't know if it's true.
Yeah. And how would you know if it was true?
By observing what they do, not what they say.
I see. So you doubt you're not sure if they're being honest.
And honest with me. I mean, I don't think they are lying to me or trying to make me feel good. I think they might, well, some of that maybe made me feel good, but it's cultural that you want to make sure the other person feels good, but also with themselves, because doing something different will be too difficult.
I understand. So one of the things I jotted down was that what I hear in terms of value is to truly help your clients
Definitely.
create real change. And there's no conflict there. But where would you say you feel conflicted?
I don't know about the word conflicted.
Right.
I would use the word incomplete.
So it might be helpful. I guess the question is, how do you, I'm trying to avoid kind of going down the solving problem route, but I'll just be direct, Hilda. Like, the puzzle piece that feels missing is that conversation with the client. Are you open to a role play right now?
I'm open to what?
A role play with me, like I'd be like me be you, you be the client.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay,
And
so
be honest.
well, here's what I was going to do. I was going to say, so let's imagine that you and I were working for 4 months together, right?
Okay.
And I'm going to play you, the coach, right? And you're going to be your client. Right? Can you give me a first name of a client?
First name of a client, Lucy.
Okay, Lucy. So trying to decide whether I want to take the lead or if you should take. Let's just go right to you take the lead. So imagine I'm Lucy. Start a conversation with me to help you assess change, whether it's working, whether it's not.
Oh, I don't know about that success, but I'm Lucy, and I don't know why I don't know. I'm confused of what I should do with my business. I mean, I wanna be able to do my childcare, but I also like cooking, and I also like to do arrangements for parties, and I am doing them. I can do all of them. I don't understand why I have to focus only on one, and I'm just I'm trying to do them all because I like them all.
Okay,
And
so you're being Lucy right now, right?
I'm being Lucy.
Okay,
yes.
that's fine. We'll go right here. All right, that's great. So Lucy, first of all, nobody said that you have to do anything. Hang with me. Come back, Lucy. The second thing, though, can we do we've been working together for 4 months. Can we just take a quick pause? And I'd like to know, how is this coaching for you?
Oh, great. It has helped me so much. It's been so wonderful. I really enjoy talking to you every day or every time that we talk.
How's it helped? I enjoy talking to you too. How's it helped?
Well, I know now what my passions are, what can I do, how to continue with what I'm doing. I'm really inspired.
And what specifically do I do in our coaching relationship? And I really appreciate us just taking just a few minutes to do this. What do I do specifically in our coaching relationship that seems to help you the most?
Being able to talk with somebody else about these things.
Okay. And then at the very beginning, I asked what you got out of coaching. I don't remember if I asked you at the very beginning what success looks like, right? So let's say over the next couple months, right? Like the last couple months of our coaching has been hugely successful. how would you know that it was hugely successful?
Because I won't feel so conflicted, or I will have more time to do the things I want to do.
Which is interesting. I heard you say earlier, I don't know why I have to give up anything, right? And then over here, you're saying like, but I'll have more time.
Mhm.
So I'm going to step out of that for a second, right? Let me just pause for a second and ask you, Hilda, what was that last 2 minutes of conversation like for you?
You know what? The thing I noticed is that I put the responsibility in the client of tell me what is success and what they are doing to be successful, instead of me making sure that I do everything right to make them successful.
Yeah. So yeah, to make them, exactly. So listen, God bless you for your true commitment to your clients. And the word that I wrote down a little bit ago was courage.
Oh God, that's so funny. I've been listening, I hearing that word in different places this week. Courage.
So the universe is telling you something. What is it telling you?
Be true to my courage.
Yes, step into it.
Yeah.
I have chills right now. I really, really do.
Great.
You have courage, allow that courage to come out, to have that honest conversation.
Yeah.
You don't have to fake it till you make it. You get to involve your client. It's almost like being afraid to ask the question because we're afraid of the answer, right?
Yeah.
And it's that love of authenticity that builds that trust, and it's that trust that's gonna help create sustained transformative change.
Definitely. Yeah. And I think that can come when you know that you are completely fully present during the sessions.
Yes, and you're not fully. And I'm going to take a guess here, Hilda, that there are times during the session where you're in your head asking, "Is this really helpful? Is this working?"
Or what else can I provide? What
Yeah,
question should I bring?
Oh, good. She seems to got something out of that. That's good. That was a good question. Sure. Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And every moment that you're in, level one listening, when you're inside your own head, you're not completely with her. Here's a challenge for you to be open to it. Next time that happens, literally say, I can't remember her name already, but Linda or
Lucy.
yeah, Lucy. I just wanted to tell you that just a second ago, or even right now, I'm actually wondering how you're receiving this coaching, right? And in other words, I want you to, I invite you to really to honor this value of honesty. You want it from them,
Mm-hmm.
but you're not fully, let's be honest, right? You're not fully leading the way.
Yeah.
That is your, oh my God, I have chills again, Hilda. This is your power.
I brought it, so I don't forget it.
Yes, I'm gonna, as we pull this together, I'm gonna invite you to do one other thing so you don't forget it. But this is your power. The way to access your courage, I believe, is through your raw honesty. And it's all okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like just putting yourself out there, what's working, what's not, let's help to find success. We've been doing this for 4 months. It's nice to hear that you enjoy talking to us. But the question I have is, are you really creating sustained change? And quite frankly, I don't know. And quite frankly, I never really asked you, how will that look? How will I know? More than you just telling me. How will it show up?
Perfect.
Right.
Thank you, Jeff.
All right, absolutely. Can I give you one other little 5-minute homework assignment?
Please.
Okay. I'd like you to, if you could find a picture or some other visual representation that you can connect with around courage.
Mm.
And then I invite you to have that in front of you next time you're coaching your clients?
So now I am the one that's getting the goosebumps. Yeah.
So the honesty begins with you. And that is the way that you find and honor your courage.
Perfect. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. What else needs to be said right now for this to feel complete?
I think I'm complete on understanding that relationship of coaching clients, and the only, well, I don't know if I already answered it. The other question I had about how this training can help me. I think I have a part of the answer, but maybe I would like to hear more, like, technically.
Sure. Well, stepping out of role, just real quickly. I mean, one of the pieces around it is a lot of coaching demos and practice and feedback and things like that. What I would encourage you to do, whether it's within this training or just with your colleagues, is really have honest coaching dialogue where you're practicing and you're getting real and giving real feedback. You giving feedback to others, you know, not being nice. You talk about a cultural thing, right? We want to be nice, right? A lot of, right, culture, right?
Mhm.
But really, you know, being honest and giving other people feedback will help build your ability to hear feedback, which will also help reinforce your ability to give honest feedback and ask your clients to give you real feedback and not let them off the hook by just telling you what you want to hear.
Yeah, that is it. Just what I want to hear or what they want to
Yeah,
hear.
exactly. Yeah, it's both of you. You're parallel. You're a participant, facilitator of their process. You're not just helping facilitate their process. You're part of the process. How you show up is part of that dynamic, right?
Definitely. Perfect. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, absolutely. And I invite you, we'll make sure you get I can put my email in the chat, but I'd love to hear next time, maybe next couple of weeks, feel free to shoot me an email if you want to, just to kind of let me know if you've noticed any shift in the way that you've shown up.
Perfect. I will definitely will. We will have those conversations next week with 2 of my clients right now.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you.
Jeff, can I add something for Hilda?
Appreciate your courage. Sure.
Thank you.
So Hilda, when you first started talking to Jeff, you said that you wanted to see results from your clients to sort of validate your coaching abilities, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he gave you a brilliant roadmap for exploring how you're impacting your clients against their goals, which was brilliant, Jeff. Thank you. But what I wanted to just kind of add is that the most important advice anybody gave me when I first started coaching is don't marry your self-confidence to your clients' outcomes.
That's
Right?
good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I'll tell you in all honesty, I know that I have made huge impact on people's lives, and it's often not based on their stated goal. The client will say, my goal is I want to lose weight. And then we find out they have, difficulty with their marriage and they've got all this other stuff going on. And through the coaching process, they grow and become stronger in attaining the goals that they want to attain. So when you do that that questioning that Jeff has taught you how to do, don't listen to the answer, I lost 5 pounds. Listen to what the client is really saying are the impactful in their life, and feel good about that. It's not always about the stated outcome.
Yeah, and the only thing I would add to that though is then make sure that you both agree that that's the new right agreement, right?
Mm.
And I, so it's like running a meeting and trying to push through the agenda, even though like you shouldn't be pushing through the agenda, right? And just, pausing and saying, by the way, I know that we started here and this is what you said you wanted to achieve. I'm noticing there's a being shift, right? And how do we want to measure that?
One thing that I'm noticing is that the where I'm offering my services, coaching is still no like appreciated or recognized. So I know it doesn't have to do anything with me, what I'm bringing to the table, but the people, for example, the two clients that I'm working with right now, they were sent to coaching. They didn't select coaching. So it seems to me like I have to prove that this system works when I know it's counterproductive, right? But that is the value in the area on the group they're working with. So that is why it's also kind of a little bit difficult when coaching in general is not appreciated.
Well, here's Hilda, I'll share something I did with a client a number of years ago. He was this guy got coaching for his team, right? Everybody in his team got coaching, and he got coaching because he wanted to be a model, but word on the street was he didn't really want to engage in coaching. He just felt like he had to do it, right? And so the first time I met with him, I'm like, hi. I said, so I drew a line. I said, so I was just want to define what we're up to. I said, over here, we're just going through the motions, right? So that your folks so that you can model for your folks what you want them to do. And then over here is transformation. Just tell me what you want this relationship to be so that I know how to adjust to what your expectations are. And that was the moment of shift for him. And he said, no, I'm in. And I said, and then I hung out there with him for a little bit. Had I not done that, I would have been doing the go through the motions the entire engagement, except for that I would have said, by the way, I feel like we're just going through the motions. When I tell my clients, I realize this may not be an option with your situation. But I say, look, I don't want to, and I tell organizations that bring me in, if I sense it's not the right thing for them, I said, I don't want to waste my time or your money if you're not really engaged. And I say, let's make sure, let's keep checking in with each other, making sure that this is working. Because if it's not, we need to go to plan B. But all of this is, even if you don't have the ability to say that, you still get to have the honest conversation. Listen, I know that you didn't ask for coaching. You're giving coaching as a part of this. That's an interesting way for us to begin this process, right? Because my commitment is to help you create change. But so thank you, Chris. But does that make sense, Hilda?
No, it does, and it goes back to put it back into their lab, right? Put it back.
Yes.
I need to remember that.
You said I'm working harder than my client, and you don't have to be. You just have to open your head. Whatever you're thinking, just bring them along.
Yeah.
All right.
That was
Thank you.
beautiful, you guys. While you guys were talking about goosebumps, I had a moment of like welling up a little bit for some reason. I don't know why, but that was great. And just real quickly, just to say, Hilda, we've all been there. That is very, very common, especially when you're newer in the coaching world. And newer might mean just there's not tons of hours logged on your belt, or you haven't, you might be only having certain clients. So you'll get there. And I saw the shift. So we only have a few minutes left. So I don't know if it makes sense to even debrief this or sort of move on with our closing comments and show and tell.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, is there one compelling thought? I guess, Laura, I mean, you're the only one that I know that you're driving, but is there anything you wanted to say or ask or reflections on that coaching?
Sorry, I've been listening, but took me a while to get off mute. That was masterful. I really enjoyed hearing how you conducted that. Really did. Thanks.
Thank you. I really appreciate that comment.
Yeah. Take care, Hilda.
Take care.
I'll
y'all. Thanks for-
I'll follow up with you too about your other questions around the training in general that we didn't get to. Yeah.
Yes, perfect. Thank you. This was wonderful. I feel with a weight lift my shoulders.
Oh,
Honestly,
yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
I
Awesome.
appreciate it. Have a
Can't
good day.
Can't wait for you to practice.
Thank you for your courage in showing up and
Yeah. And being
Thank you.
voluntold to be the client.
I know, huh? You see what I get into? I get into trouble without asking.
There was like a million parallels in this
Yes.
segment, it's so interesting. You being direct, Jeff, with Hilda to model directness for her and to ask for directness from her client, there was just so much there.
Yeah, it was
Around that, and
wonderful.
even in the role play too. That was so interesting. Yeah.
And it's true about Lucy, and it's true what I said about Lucy. She's
Yeah.
so happy every time, but it's like, okay,
All
but great.
right.
all right.
Thank
All
you.
right, see you later. Have a
Bye.
good weekend. Yeah. Well, thank you, Jeff. And anything else you want to say to feel closed out from your?
Yeah, no, the last thing I'll just say is what was going for me, I was going back and forth between just showing up with whatever she needed with, this is a demo about values, wanting to kind of connect to values. But it sort of all just came together anyway, particularly when like just courage, like I literally like had just written the word, there's not much on this thing, just courage. And it was like, and then it hit me like, oh wait, that's the value. And then when she said honesty, it's like, oh, there's the two, there it is. And so, it just goes back to just, for me, it was just stepping out of my own way and not trying to make it look a certain way, but yes, keep in the back of my mind that there's a particular direction.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so interesting when we do these and we're focusing on one area and then we do a demo and we don't, we're not trying to be so structured to force it in there, but it always, the universe answers. It usually shows up and there's a room for it, that intention. So as we kind of come down for landing here, I just wanted to show you, and again, probably not necessarily for you guys, but if you know somebody that's really looking for some that beginning sort of foundational coach training, I just want to share our site so you can show them where to find more real quick. And oh gosh darn it, hold on, I'm gonna bring it up. I'm gonna do that. Okay. All right. So this is our website, and just under courses, and this is sort of the broader, I mean, you can read this on your own, obviously, but the broader course description for this, and what this is, we didn't really call this out, but this is one of the 7 barriers to change, a values conflict. And there's 6 more, and Joan knows this already because we made her work with it in our group coaching, this model. So anyway, it's a 3-day course, September 9th to 11th, all day on Zoom, lots of breaks, lots of engaging experiences. We're not didactic in our approach, and it's by application. So there's a little form to click to fill out for whoever's interested, and it's $995. And it also includes a platform on Teachable to dig into resources and stuff like that. And then obviously we have more courses. It goes down. If someone was going to go for an ICF credential, then they would need to do all of it. But this is the starter thing, and it's a good standalone beginning. So just wanted to share that real quick. And yeah, any more comments or questions before we wrap up for our time today? No, thank you. Thank you both. Laura, I could feel you listening. I know you're driving. We didn't want you to do anything heroic and get an accident on video. On video,
Thanks.
That would be so bad.
That's not good.
During Jeff
Thanks.
and Chris's class.
Thank you both for
Yeah, take care,
Thank
you guys.
Thank you. This was terrific. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.